knitting besties, welcome to Knit All the Things. My name is Laurel. I'm also known as West Maven on Instagram, Ravelry, and here. If you're new, this is a space where I talk about all the things I'm knitting, all the things I want to knit, all things yarn, just all the things. And if you're returning, welcome back, knitting bestie. I can't wait to catch up with you. In this week's episode, we are going to talk about some of the projects that I didn't quite finish this year. Some definitely slowed me down. Some were just not like exciting once I got going. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm also really excited to share it with you. I'm going to challenge myself to knit a sweater in 3 days. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And this sweater is going to be for myself, just to give you the scope of this challenge. So grab your knitting, get cozy, and let's go. Okay, I know you just heard 3-day sweater challenge. Like, what are you doing? And we will get to that, I promise. But first, let's talk real quickly about what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Champagne Cardigan. This is a pattern by Petite Knit, and I knit this in Noro Madara in, I want to say it was called Fuji-san, I think. And I believe it was number 16. So whatever the color 16, it is definitely the lavender purple, which there's only one of. So it's quite easy to find if I'm incorrect. And of course I will link everything below. I also held it with the Lamb & Kids Momo in the colorway Trippy, which is a very beautiful mohair. It is a very cool color, and it's one that is very, very, of course, special and unique to them, but just a special and unique color in general. And let me tell you a little bit about it. So because it's mohair, it's a mohair and silk yarn, and the silk core in the trippy color tends to almost take on like a pink, a quite vibrant pink color. And then the kind of mohair fuzz is more of like a purple. So it has this very interesting kind of shape-shifting color. And so while I was knitting this, sometimes I really do feel like I see hints of pink and then hints of purple. It just really depends upon the lighting. And because the base color is more purple, it's really gonna look more purple, but it definitely has that kind of silk core in there, which makes it just an interesting color altogether. I knit the size medium in this, and I did not do any like modifications. I just knit this to pattern. I will stand up real quickly. I've been doing this a little bit lately where I like to kind of, some of these ones are so overpowering that you kind of get lost in them, and you can definitely do like wear it out. And if I do wear it out, then I like to have it unbuttoned. But if I want to have it a little bit more fitted, if you will, I take the tail or the edge of this and I tuck it into my jeans like that. And then I take the other side and I do the same thing. So they're kind of crisscrossed a little bit, and that gives a little bit more of a waist to what I'm wearing. And I think sometimes that looks slightly more flattering. It just kind of depends on what the rest of the outfit is. But I thought I'd share that with you. I love this pattern. You have some really nice finishings. You have like the Italian bind offs, and you have double knit button band. And I found these beautiful vintage buttons, which have like a greenish color to them, which I really thought was a nice juxtaposition, if you will, on the purple. What else can I say? Oh, and the ribbing on the bottom is a very nice big chunk of ribbing. So everything is kind of oversized in this one, which I really like. And because I like this one so much, I definitely will knit another one, and I in fact have yarn to make a second one in like a gray. At least I think that's what I would do with it. I have a gray and a blue that I could use. But I really like this. I am very happy that I used the mohair. It did mess up the gauge a little bit for me. So while I am on gauge on this sweater, it is much tighter. So this fits more like a jacket rather than a sweater. It's definitely a lot warmer than had I left the mohair off, but I like it that way. Like, I like that it is a jacket. So again, Petite Knit. I really like this sweater. I love wearing it. I don't think I love knitting cardigans. I don't enjoy it. And so from that, let's jump off that and kind of just go into what I've been working on. So cardigans. I have been slowly working on the Eva cardigan, which is also a Petite Knit cardigan. I am using La Bien-Aimé's Corey Worsted in the color Coquelicot, and I really love the color. I think it's really pretty. I had split for sleeves last time, but I've really only done like 2 inches of the body. It's just taking me forever. And I keep thinking like, oh, I'm gonna switch to the sleeves and get the sleeves done, which I will do. But in my head, I'm like, I can just quickly finish this ball of yarn. And I swear this is like the never ending ball of yarn. I don't know if that's happened to you where you're like, oh, by the time I get to the end of that, then I'm gonna do something else. And it's like this ball of yarn, I swear, hasn't gotten any smaller since I thought that. So I know it really has, but it's one of those things that it's just taking a long time. I have took it with me more often lately just to like try to force some more rows in, but it's just not bringing me any joy. And it's not the pattern, it's just me. I don't think I love doing cardigans. And these cardigans, once you finish the yoke, much like if you did a pullover, once you finish the yoke, it's just like boring stockinette. You're not doing anything special or having to keep track of anything, which is nice, but it's boring to me. And especially all of the purling rows, I'm less into. So that one's been getting done. I have been working on it, but it just has been slow. Now I did finish on the last podcast. I had talked about making my kids' teachers the penny gloves by Petite knit, and I did end up finishing all 3. I chose, with your guys' help, I chose the Winterfell combo and the Cashmere Treat blend yarn and made them, and I'll hopefully have put a picture here-ish. I love how these turned out. I couldn't be happier. They definitely speak to teal to me, and I think they were so luxurious feeling with the cashmere and the mohair and silk and everything. They just were gorgeous, gorgeous mitts. I'm so happy how they turned out. Okay, then, because I haven't been wanting to knit on the Petite knit cardigan, I have been like randomly casting on things and then randomly grabbing FO. I guess they call unfinished objects UFO, but I don't count this as that only because I do work on it. I keep it by my bed so that I'm constantly working on it. I think I've only done like 1 inch since I last showed you guys, but this is my Pearl Soho half and half triangles wrap. This is the colorway Super Orange. I only have this much left. Again, this is like the first ball of yarn that takes for freaking ever, but I really do like to knit on this. Yes, this one's Super Orange. And then I am going to, for the second half of this half and half triangles wrap, I'm going to have bright flamingo. So these are going to be the 2 colors together. I like to knit on this, especially in the winter, because that's when I'm like, oh, I wish I had color to knit. So that's kind of the thought between these crazy bright colors. I also do not intend to wear this as a wrap. I use my other half and half triangles wrap as just a throw that I throw like over my lap while I'm knitting or watching shows or whatever. And so I don't really care that it's not really my colors, but I do like the brightness to it. And I kind of have a feeling that once I finish it, my kids are probably gonna steal it anyway, so I shouldn't have to worry about the color at all. Okay. This is a free pattern also by Pearl Soho, and you can use this is their linen quill yarn. I really like it. It has a nice hand feel, but you really could use anything you wanted, any fingering weight yarn. So if you have some skeins of fingering weight yarn that maybe you're no longer your color, I think it would be a great way to use up that yarn. Because I haven't wanted to finish the cardigan, I have been working on other projects. One of the projects that I have been working on, unfortunately, I don't know if you guys remember, but for Christmas, I had made my husband a hat that was the Pac-Man hat. And I made it and finished it and blocked it, and I thought, that's too big. And I followed the pattern exactly for like the extra large or whatever the bigger size was. And I tried it on and thought, oh, this seems so big, like there's just no way. And so I decided to frog it to the ribbing because I felt like the ribbing was fine, just the color work was wrong. And so I frogged it, I went down a needle size, I reknit it, and blocked it and gave it to him for Christmas. And he's like, babe, I love it. It's just just slightly too tight. So I frogged it again and I reknit the color work once again because The ribbing was fine. It was just the color work. I went back to the original pattern needle and now it fits fine. So, lesson learned. I should have given it to him on the big side, which I thought was the big side, because I do know that his hats are quite a bit larger than mine, and just offered to reknit it if it was too big, instead of having to reknit it too small. So I've now knit that color work part of the hat 3 times. We're done with that now. But because of that, that's what I actually have been spending a lot of this previous week knitting on, or at least the last 3 days since Christmas. I've been knitting on that. So that's taken up quite a bit of time. But I did have moments in between that to work on other things. One of the other things that I worked on was we're going to talk about this book a lot today. So this is Lerky Bagger's Knitted Out book. I purchased this when it first came out. Like, I pre-ordered it. I love her style. I like her way of thinking about and approaching knitwear. And so whether or not her style is for you, I feel like her books are very inspirational and just give you different ways to approach things or think about things. So from that perspective, I really love it. Her patterns in the books can be followed. I'm not saying they're poorly written by any means, but I think for American hand-holded knitters, they can be a little tough. So if you've knit something before, you'll be fine. It can be just take you a moment to like read it a couple of times, make sure you're correctly following the directions. So her newest book, Knitted Out, which I have her close knit book as well, and have knit one of the sweaters from that. I really have wanted for a very long time to knit an entrelac sweater. And because of that, when she published this book, I got so excited because she has several entrelac patterns. I'm trying to find one without yeah, I can show this. So this is a pillow, and that's what we're going to be working on right now because I'm trying to teach myself the technique. And I'm sure there's probably a little bit easier way of learning this, but this is the path we're on. So I wanted to learn to do entrelac, and because of that, I chose this pattern just as a great stepping off point. And then once I feel comfortable, she has a pullover and a cardigan in here, and I'll pick probably one of those to do. So I went through my stash, and previously with her last sweater that I had knit, I used a bunch of my stash and I used a bunch of dark colors. I still have a ton of that stash left, but when I was sorting kind of yarn stash, I had like a light pile and a dark pile, and I didn't really use much of the light yarn. So I have like bags of little balls of yarn, and I am currently working on the pillow. So in entrelac, if you're unaware, because I was unaware, you start with triangles and then you pick up and knit off of them in different directions. So you start, the first row is your, in this case, 3 triangles, and then you pick up and you knit, let's see, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I think I knit from this side, this direction. And then the next time I'm going to knit this direction this way. So you are definitely have kind of crazy looking knitting on your needles, but it's going to all make sense when it's done. So far what I've chosen to do was hold actually the same mohair. I think it's been the same the whole time. The same mohair with dropping a stitch. Knitting the same mohair with different yarns, and I've been using essentially like a DK with a mohair on this. And hopefully when I'm done, I will have a good size little side pillow. I have a pillow that I'm going to use. This one would be way too big, but I think I can use like a 15-inch throw pillow and cover it. It's by the time you finish the pillow, you have done the cast on row and a couple of the in-between rows and then the cast off row, and then you make another panel, so you have like a good working knowledge of like how it works. And so far, all I have done, like I said, is the cast-on row, and then I don't remember if it was the right or the left leaning, but one of those, one direction. And I'm about to start the other one. Now, here's where I'm like wishy-washy with my knitting in general right now. I thought this was going to bring me like the most joy of all time. And I'm not hating it, but I'm not like as in love with it as I thought I was going to be. I like it. So maybe I'm just not there yet, but it's not really itching that scratch for me. And I don't know if I'm just in a little bit of a knitting funk or what it is, but it's definitely, I thought that was going to be like a fun project for me, and it still is fun. We'll see. I haven't been like, oh my God, I got to get back to knitting that, which is how I feel when I'm like really into like knitting something. When I was doing the penny gloves, for example, one, I really needed to finish them, but two, like I was enjoying just like doing a row or two here. This, I think because it's a new technique, I'm really having to like sit and pay attention. And with kids home from school and all kinds of things going on, I've been interrupted a lot. I had done the first row more than once just because of interruptions, and I felt like I had dropped something. And so far, because it's so new, I have no idea how to fix a mistake. And so I had to just start over. And so now I'm like very worried, like I don't want to drop any stitches and have to start completely over. So I am really excited to get the pillow done, and hopefully I'll have that done either one panel or maybe I'll have a pillow done, who knows? But that isn't the 3-day sweater. So the 3-day sweater is going to be out of this book. Now, she has a few different sweaters in this book. She has a sweater called the 3-day sweater, and you might think, Laurel, how in God's name are you going to knit a sweater in 3 days? Well, let me tell you. You are knitting it on like a US 11. I think it's like a 9mm, 8mm, huge needle. And because it's such a big needle, there is a lot of like give in your project. I have not cast on anything. I have, however, collected yarns. I had set aside one ball of yarn that seems to be completely and forever missing. I don't know what happened to it. I had seen it and I was like, ooh, this is gonna be perfect for this project. I set it aside and I have never seen it again. So who knows? But you might recognize some of these colors from products I recently did. This is from the gloves I just finished for one of the teachers, the merino silk. I have a gray fingering weight yarn. This is from, I think, Les Garçons. I have random black yarn. This one might also be a Les Garçons one. I have some sparkle because I feel like just doing some chaos in here will be fun. I have some silver sparkle with holographic like sequins. Yikes. I have some black DK from the stockings I just finished. I have some pure silk from Knitting for Olive in licorice or the black colorway. I have some Winterfell mohair, some other La Bien-Aimée mohair, some Issayer Alpaca 1. I used this in my Intarsia sweater this year, and just a few other different blacks. So I have a lot of black yarn. Oh, and this one. This one was from my collective shawl, and it is a La Bien-Aimée colorway. I'm thinking it was like Drogon or something, but I only have this little tiny thing and it's going in. So I'm trying to pull some stash that I know like what the project was, just for extra funsies, and kind of go from there. I am gonna use all stash, and like the Issayer Alpaca is a completely unused skein, but I'm not, well, not this one, but I have two of these. These are kind of unused skeins, and so while I would normally not really consider this like a true like stash leftover yarn, it kind of is because I didn't do the sleeves. And so I have quite a bit of this left, and I can't return it, and it's black. It'll be fine. I think it will look nice. I can hold it double. I can also hold it single with something else like the sparkle or the mohair or triple or something, because this is a lace. So my plan is a mostly black 3-day sweater. And hopefully I could do it in 3 days. I would like to do it in 3 days. I would like it to be done by the 1st. Today is the 28th. Because I am making this video, it is unlikely that I will have a ton of time to knit. So it would give me the 29th, 30th, and 31st to get it done by the end of the year. So here is the challenge. I'm going to try to get this done by the end of the year. If you have this book, because you really can't order it and get this done at the same time, but you could get it from your local yarn store or bookstore, you're welcome to join in the 3-day challenge. I really think that whether or not I get it done, it will still be fun to see how much I can get knit in that amount of time. And I think that it'll just be maybe a little bit of a knitting mojo push. Last time I did one of Lerke's patterns, when I did the No Limit sweater, I was a little bit in a funk as well, and it kind of pushed me out of it just because it gave me like different problems to solve, different knitting problems to solve. So this particular one, I am a little concerned on the size to choose because of the way that you knit this. The nature of this sweater is so stretchy because you're at such a high gauge that of course you can stretch it out this way, but you're also going to be able to have a lot of stretch this way. And so the way she has you measure, or she tells you about her measurements, is that you lay it flat and you measure it flat unstretched at all. And then that should fit XYZ bust. And it's a huge like difference. There's like a lot of stretch in it. So I'm gonna start out knitting it. I think I've decided to knit a size 4. So we'll see how that goes. I don't want this one to be too tight. I also think having it be too like a positive ease is probably not the way to go, just given the type of sweater it is. Here is some kind of her, I'm gonna see if I can find some of her versions of the sweater. She did a dress, and she did, well, this is a different one. She also has in this book a sweater called the Inner Child sweater. And it is a little bit tighter gauge, but kind of same vibes. Like you can use the technique to make the 3-day sweater. You're gonna have things like holes in it on purpose and various just wildness, adding different stripes and things. Here's a dress and one of the sweaters that she did in the 3-day kind of style. So there is a lot of various versions that you could do if you go on Instagram and you look up 3-day sweater, or go to her Instagram and then select the hashtag from one of her pictures, because she's always posting it. You can kind of get some ideas. I'm really drawn to all the dark ones, which really is no surprise, and I have a ton of stash for that. So that's kind of the plan for now, and I'm hoping I can get it done in the 3 days. We'll see. Again, it's just a fun challenge. Join me if you want. I think it will be a bit of a push to get it done in 3 days for me, but maybe I haven't started it, so I actually don't know. Maybe we'll find out together that there's no way I can knit a sweater for myself in 3 days. Or I can, and it won't fit. Who knows? We don't know, because I'm not gonna swatch. I just can't. I don't think I have time to do a swatch. I don't think it's gonna tell me much because it's gonna be so stretchy. I'm just gonna have to like go and do the thing. So again, we're just doing this for fun. It's not gonna be my best fitting sweater, but it might be my most fun. And hopefully it'll get me out of this funny feeling I have been having with knitting where I'm just not like as enthused, which is also totally fine. It's totally fine. I really also want to knit the Papia sweater, another sweater. So those are kind of my like knitting near knitting goals, my next knitting goals. I can't think of the word right now. So that is the kind of big challenge I plan on working on. I mostly want to thank you guys because I have had so much fun with this podcast this year. I've been able to go to a couple of different yarn events and meet some of you, which has been like absolutely phenomenal and really touches my heart more than you guys know. And I've really just had so much fun making these videos. I have been toying with the idea of this, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am going to, perhaps, if this is of interest to you guys, start sending out newsletters. Not a random newsletter. I kind of am thinking as a way to help you guys and maybe make it a nice thing. A quick hello, but also sending some of the show notes. So sending links to the patterns that I've mentioned in the latest video. So they would be like every 2 weeks like these videos are. Or if I do a special video, then I'll just send like a link to the video and a link to all the patterns referenced, etc. If that sounds nice to you or that would be helpful to you in any way, please let me know in the comments below, because it's something I've been thinking of. I will also link my link to my newsletter, and that's kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to use that for. Or if I saw like, oh, there's a special sale that I know of that I want to make sure you guys all hear about. But other than that, I don't really plan on using it for much. So if that does sound fun to you, or that would be helpful, like, oh, I would love having like a newsletter with all the patterns that you talked about this week, so I don't have to like write them down or Google them or XYZ later, I just know it's coming, then let me know if that's helpful. Because I think it would be helpful, but maybe you guys think, no thanks, we don't need that. Let me know. Okay. So I have been listening a lot, again, to a lot of podcasts and watching like the Christmas movies, the ones that I've watched now with kids and just in general. Every year are always White Christmas, like hands down, my all-time favorite. I could watch that in the summer. I don't care. I really like that movie. And then the Grinch, that's not the newest one. No, maybe it is the newest one. I think it's the newest Grinch with kids, because they've really enjoyed that one. So that's been kind of our like vibes. Everybody's been very sick the last week, and so just taking care of sick babies has been a lot of time. Yeah, that's kind of all I have. Again, short video this time. I will have a lot more knitting. I will keep updates. I'm toying with the idea of doing some quick little shorts to follow the 3-day journey, if you will. So make sure that if you are not subscribed for Not Yet Knitting Besties, to hit that subscribe button, and please like this video because it tells YouTube the other fiber enthusiasts like yourself enjoy this type of content. Until 2 weeks from now, please make some yarn magic.